All right, good day, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Live the Fuel show. So today, yes, once again, since 2016, I'm bringing on another new guest co-host. And it's gotten a lot easier. Shout out to some wonderful companies like Interview Valet getting me connected to these folks, whether it be from the author life, the adrenaline junkie life, the speaker life, the entrepreneur life, the doctor life, the researcher, PhD, you name it. We've brought a lot of great guest co-hosts on. So I'm excited for today's because he and I do share some similar, we'll just say, sweat equity activities that happen outside of the office that have brought alignment to me, and I'm sure alignment to him. But there's a lot more to him than that. He's actually been a TEDx speaker. I've considered it multiple times over the years, but I get a little busy and haven't really committed to that side of it yet. But he might know something about performance, and I love teaching that to people. Is that there are ways to quote unquote hack life or hack your profession and find a way to perform better, especially personally and on the professional side. They need to go hand in hand because they do benefit each other. And this gentleman might know a little bit about wrestling. Might have been some championship matches over the years. And I did, before we hit record today, I mean, I studied martial arts as a kid, and I remember my sensei telling me, like, "Oh, you're a wrestler." And I'm like, "No." And he goes, "Oh, well, you move like one." And I said, "Is that a good thing?" And sensei said, "Yes." He's like, "That's a very good thing. A lot of wrestlers become martial artists." So that was a fun little connection there. But well, again, speaker, performance coach. He knows a lot about adrenaline junkie stuff too. We're going to vibe on that because I love it. So without further ado, Jim Harshaw, sir, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Scott. Good to get connected with you. Yeah, you got that Pennsylvania wrestling blood in you, whether or not you wrestled or not. It's like it's in the blood up there.
Well, I made the joke. I was like, dude, that was when I went to school. I graduated back in 1995 and from high school. And it was back then, that was the only thing my school was even known for. We sort of had a football team, and I think they were very prideful about the marching band thing. But I was like, the only thing that was like we were kicking some butt on back then was wrestling.
Yeah.
And it seems to be a Pennsylvania key sport, and you just clarified that. So, because you're from out in Pittsburgh, so
Yeah, I grew up on the other side of the state, and it's Penn Argyl was always a good wrestling school, and I mean,
yeah.
just Pennsylvania is the sort of hub of wrestling in America in terms of it's the best wrestling state in the country. Ohio and New Jersey are really good as well, but Pennsylvania is kind of pretty much year in year out considered the best wrestling state in the country.
And it's funny, unless I come across somebody like you, nobody brings that up.
Yeah.
I've lived in South Carolina. I've lived in Arizona when I was firefighting, and then obviously Colorado after that before coming back to Pennsylvania. And I was born in New Jersey, so I've been around the block a little bit in the U.S. And it was not exactly a normal conversation that pops up. Like, "Hey, man, what's you from?" I'm like, "Oh, blah, blah, blah."
Right.
And they're like, oh, you guys are amazing influencers in the wrestling market. Nobody says that.
Yeah, in my world they do. I talk to a lot of wrestlers, so yeah. But you're
Well,
right. It's not like known in the out there in the greater universe.
well, I mean, you were, God, if part of your background, you were wrestling since 16 or before that?
No, 6 years old.
Sorry, 6 years old,
Six.
16 years in wrestling. There we go.
Yeah,
Okay.
16. Well, then my 17th year was my final year. So
Yeah.
17 total years. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I don't always tap directly into someone's biological statement or the bio from their website. And again, ladies and gentlemen, we'll do some screen sharing later, but Jim Harshaw, JR for junior.com, because part of that, one of the little segments I enjoy was you made sure that was very clear. Like your final year of wrestling was the quote unquote point of failure as far as that section of your life. But I love to hit on the word failure or fail or what it takes to fail to succeed. Ergo, there's my tie together. And since you're a performance coach, I think that's a great way to start off, because why is that so important to you? And I think that's important for my audience to hear why I wanted to bring you on as a guest co-host, because there's some power in that. So I figured I'd hand you the mic range right away since you're the guest co-host. So
Yeah. I mean, there are people out there these days talking about, yeah, I guess you hear it when you listen in between the lines, people talking about failure and the value of failure, and the social media, people like to put the memes out there about how failure is a good thing, but you really have to internalize it. It can't just be something you say to your kids, you put it on social media, you say something, to your direct reports, but it's like something you actually have to live and internalize, because failure is like one of those things you go, yeah, you learn from failure. I don't believe in failure. Hear people say, I don't believe in failure. All of that, it's winning or learning. It's not losing. And I get all that. But that all feels okay when it's something that's happening to somebody else. But it's whenever we fail, when I fail, that's when the emotion happens, right? I fail. I feel like I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not capable enough. That's when we actually have to look in the mirror and be able to say those same things. And I think that's really the biggest challenge. That's why I started the podcast called Success Through Failure. And I gave a TEDx talk titled Why I Teach My Children to Fail. It's a necessary step on the path to success.
Well, I think what I'm hearing right off the bat, which is ringing true to me, this is why I enjoy our show's format like this, because what's stepping out on me. And as soon as you start really defining that better, it is that internal speak, right? Our own internal language. And that's something that I've had to learn over my years of growth and expansion and success. And it's not a matter of, and I think it's important people to hear this from me anyway. It's depending on how you talk about it, it could come out like a personal brag, but it's not about a brag. It's sharing that, hey, that internal speak, getting over that never goes away. That's for me anyway. I mean, you might be further down the pipe than me, but from our backgrounds, I'm thinking that you might agree with me on that. Where are you at on that? Because I feel like the internal speak never truly goes away. It might manifest differently. We've jumped over the walls, like in a Spartan race course, or maybe bunny hopped over a couple of speed bumps, on the bikes to get there. But maybe the internal speak shifts. It never goes away, and that self-doubt never goes away.
Yeah. The shift happens. It happens for me. It took me years of even teaching and preaching this. I've been in business probably about as long as you. And, I started my podcast 2015, yours is 2016. So
Yeah.
about the same amount of time, but they say you teach what you need. And I gave this TEDx talk in 2014 titled Why I Teach My Children to Fail. And it was largely about my wrestling career, which was mostly failure until I got onto the podium as an All-American at the national championships my senior year. And but this concept of failure is not something that most people are comfortable with and like truly comfortable with. So you have to be aware of your thinking. You have to be aware of what is happening when you fail, not if, but when you fail, whether it's some small failure, right? Whether it's at work or some interaction with your boss or a client, or some larger failure. You try to launch a business or run a marathon or whatever it might be. These larger failures, we have to understand that sometimes there's a voice in our head saying, see, I told you, you're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not all that. And we have to, and sometimes it's not even a voice. It's just a feeling. We just feel defeated. And we have to have the presence of mind, whether it's through journaling, through meditation, through working with a coach. You have to have the presence of mind to step back and say, wait a second, are you a failure or did you fail? And what did you learn from that? How are you better now because of that? Not despite it, but because of it. Now, here's an example that I wish I would have learned years ago. So I raised angel capital years ago, started a technology company, built a software, launched it to the world, had revenue, but after a couple of years, we just weren't, paying the bills, didn't have enough money coming in to keep the lights on and had to shut it down. And looking back, I realized it was my first endeavor, and it was my second company. I sold my first company. Second one was the first time into software and into technology. And I had no idea what I was getting into. I worked so inefficiently. I built this thing so wrong. It was just I was surprised at how far I got. And looking back, but at the end of it, when I shut it down, I felt like a failure. When in reality, I had so much knowledge and so much wisdom accrued through years of raising capital, working with investors, working with an offshore development team, learning what a wireframe was, learning how to create something that the customer actually didn't want as much as I thought. And then at the end, I kind of figured out what they did want. And I was out of money, out of bandwidth. I had to pay the bills, and I had 4 kids, and it was just I had to shut it down. But at that moment, I was so much more prepared than ever to launch another company.
Mhm.
But at that moment, I thought like, well, I guess I'm not good at that. I guess I'm not good at starting a technology company. So no, you weren't good at it, but now you have experience and knowledge. And if you were to go into this again, you would probably, your chances of success are significantly increased.
Mhm.
But we don't think about that in the moment. We feel the pain, we feel the doubt, we feel the uncertainty, we feel the embarrassment. That's typically what guides us, right, Scott? I mean, you've probably felt
It's a
that at some
natural
point in your
psychological
life.
response, right? I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah.
I decided to go back to school on nights and weekends in my late 20s to just change educational background up. And I originally went to college to be an engineer, and then I decided years later, it's like, okay, sales and marketing comes pretty naturally to me. I have the gift of gab. A lot of my engineering buddies, they're just stick behind computer monitors and staring, at
Yeah, you don't seem like the engineer type.
AutoCAD. Exactly. I was like, and luckily I realized that. So I was like, wait a minute, I might be going down a different path here. So then I took a break from school because I was working my way through school and paying my own way too. I was the first person in my family to go to a university. So, and there was no money. So I had to earn it, to pay it, to go. And the wake up call from that was, wow, time management becomes a thing. But secondly, it was, wait a minute, now that I'm getting deeper into the coursework, is this what I want for my future, where I see myself? And then, you do go visit companies and see, job shadowing. And it's like, dude, you're just behind a computer all day. And now granted, some engineers become, it's called post-sales engineers. You're out in the field, you're consulting, you get to travel, but it just wasn't ringing. So I decided to jump into working for startups. I was working for a couple of startup call center companies that went through acquisitions. And then fast forward, like the one company that became two other companies, eventually became T-Mobile USA. So
Wow.
I went through all of that fun, which was amazing cultural shifts and changing of job titles and growth. And, it was funny because my friends were like, what do you do? I'm like, what? Like, well, you never finished your degree. I was like, oh, so I need a degree to tell you what I do. And that was like that kind of rubbed me a little bit, but
Yeah.
and then I realized it's like, because fast forward all the way to today. Obviously, I left that, moved on to actually an angel investor funded IT company that literally my next door neighbor had started, and then he and I became friends. And I'm like, yo, I've been considering testing out sales consulting. I was like, I want to get out of the telecom space, and we're from one tech to the other tech. And sure enough, I got to work with him. And then he sold that company 3 times over. And
Wow.
I don't know if he really has to work. I'll just leave it at that. But if you understand the tech space, he was running a
Sure.
IT, fully dedicated management server, basic data center companies, and his footprint sold very well, and they kept him on through that transition. Then that company sold it to another investment company, and then they kept them on again. So he went through 2 extended presidential CEOs. So opposite of probably what one of your goals was, right? Obviously,
Sure.
since yours didn't work out, he was lucky enough to work out. But he has many colleagues that I've met over the years just through that relationship, where a lot of startups have second try, third try, fifth try finally hits, and
Sure.
apparently it's pretty common, in your world with doing that. And
Yeah.
to your point, every single person of success that I've ever met, whether it be audiobooks I listen to, or podcasts or keynote speeches or whatever, or people I've had on the show, they said the most successful people who are worth the most, not just financially, but also influentially, that people should be paying attention to, aren't talking about their successes. They're talking about those speed bumps, those walls that came crashing down, what was learned in maybe a very accelerated rate, or that recognition you said, like once the doors got closed, then you realize, whoa, if I decide to do this again, my time curve is at a whole different level.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And failure is that path. And I get to interview all these amazing folks on my podcast like you do. And we talk about success, but we also talk about their failures. I've got an interview, Tim Ferriss and Jack Canfield and Russell Brunson and some of these amazing entrepreneurs. And they share these things. And we don't see that from the outside looking in. We see their successes, but we don't see that, they almost couldn't make payroll, or they started out at the very bottom of some company and worked their way up. We don't see that. We think that that their path was somehow easier. When I interviewed a world champion wrestler named Jaden Cox, and one thing that he said that really has stuck out to me over the years since I've interviewed him was, he said that, I realized, he said, it's whenever I realized that failure actually is an option that I began to perform at my potential. He realized that failure actually isn't, like, failure actually can happen. And once we realize that and we don't fear it, then we can put that baggage down. Because I mean, really, that's how I got there. I came into college with the goal of being an All-American. And to be an All-American wrestler, you have to first qualify for the national championships. And then from there, you have to win 4 matches at the national championships. And
yeah,
my
there's
freshman
like
year,
a standard threshold, right? You have to meet
sure,
these tiers
top
to
8.
get there. Yeah.
Yeah, you get to top 8 in the country. So there's a bracket. You get to the national championships, and then there's a bracket, and then you compete through that bracket, and the top 8 finishers are All-American. And so I get to my freshman year, I actually qualified for the national championships, but I failed to get onto the podium. My sophomore year, qualified again for the national championships. Again, fell short of achieving my goal. Junior year, pretty much a repeat of the prior 2 years. Got to the national championships, but again, I failed. And I spent that off season. I mean, after the national championships that year, I mean, I walked off the mat my junior year, walked back into the locker room, blood on my face, and buried my face in a towel, just in tears. And I'm thinking to myself, like, maybe this just isn't for me. Maybe I just don't have what it takes to get onto the podium. And I dedicated my entire off season in figuring out what it is. Like, what am I missing? Right? Do I need to lift more? Do I got to get stronger legs? Do I got to be more flexible? Like, learn new techniques? I mean, what is it that I'm missing? So I dedicated the entire off season. I traveled all around the East Coast, getting hired at these college wrestling camps just so I could be a counselor, because they'd bring in these Olympic gold medalists and national championship coaches, and I would pick their brains, and just being around them. And all summer long, that's what I did. Dedicated my life to this, trying to figure this out. I get into my senior year. It's the night before the very first competition of my senior season. And this is, I'm in Morgantown, West Virginia in November 1998. And it's the West Virginia University Open Tournament the next day. And I'm sitting in my hotel room, and it hits me. I never figured it out. Like, I never figured out what is the thing that I'm missing, that I'm not doing, that I need to break through to get to my next level. So I'm sitting in a hotel room, and I have this realization, sitting on the edge of my bed. And in that moment, I gave up. I gave up on the dream. I gave up on the outcome. And I said, listen, all I can do is all I can do. I'm going to put everything I have into this. I'm going to show up early to practice, stay late, hit the weight room, stretch, rehab my injuries, put the right food in my mouth, get to bed on time, take care of my studies, keep my social life in order. Like, I'm going to do all of those things. And if I get onto the podium, great. If I don't, I have to be okay with that. I don't have a choice but being okay with, like, if I do everything I can and it doesn't work, then there's nothing else I could do. And I found peace of mind in that. And so I gave up on the outcome and just said, I'm going to focus on the process. I'm going to enjoy the journey, enjoy the battle. And I woke up the next morning, and I went 5-0 on the day, destroyed the competition, had so much fun competing. And my dad said, he looked at me after I won the championship, and he's like, I don't know what got into you. He's like, I've never seen you wrestle like that before. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it was fun. And the rest of my senior season pretty much went the same way. And I, got to the national championships again at the end of the year. This time I won my first 3 matches, and I have one more match to win in order to become an All-American. And there's 15,000 people in the arena, and my life comes down to this. As far as I'm concerned, this is my life on the line. 16 years. This is my 17th year of competing. And if I win this match, this next 7 minutes, if I win, I become an All-American. If I lose, I go home with nothing. After 17 years of competing, I go home with nothing. No state championship in high school, didn't even get a medal in high school state championships, and I would walk away from college with the same thing, with nothing. I got to wrestle the 4th ranked wrestler in the country on the number 1 ranked team in the country, University of Minnesota. And I step out there, and again, I had to really focus on let go of the outcome. All you control is the process. You don't control whether you win or lose. You control the process. You control if you make first contact, if you get taken down, you control the words that go through your mind and the words that you say out loud and inside your head. You control all of those. You control your body language, all that, but you don't control the outcome. And I went out and I dominated the match, and I got my hand raised, and it was this idea that failure is irrelevant. Failure doesn't matter. Like, I had to put my fear of failure aside. And when I did, once I finally did that, it allowed me to be fully me. And that's what, for the listener, I want you to think about. Like, in order for you to show up fully you in the next job interview, in the next promotion you're going for, in the next sales presentation, whatever it is that you're trying to pitch, to sell, whatever performance it is that you're going into in your life, and we're all performers, whatever performance it is, focus on the outcome first, right? Start with the end. Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he told us, start with the end in mind. We'll start with the end in mind, create the process, reverse engineer it, and then simply focus on the process. Let the outcome be what it is. When you can do that, if you can do that, and this is a mind trick, I get this. This is a mind trick that you have to play on yourself. You let go of the outcome and you focus on the process, and that's going to give you your best shot at being the best version of yourself.
Well, a lot of what you just said, and specifically in the final few words just now, was we are hitting heavily on the mind, right? The mindset, our thought processes. And that's something that can't be turnkey. We can hire the best coaches in the world. We can hire the best performance coaches like yourself in the world. You still got to put in the reps, right? Just like going to the gym. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to increase my bicep size by 1 inch. I want to increase my long jump by another 1 foot. Or, hey, I'm going to go and run a marathon. That's part of my backstory. I went from no running to running a marathon. Wow. And is that recommended? I could personally tell you no. Did I finish?
When did you do that?
2008, the Marine Corps in Washington, D.C.
Wow, very cool.
So I went right for one of the biggest ones, and only because a buddy of mine that I had, it was like there's this worldwide underground running club called Hash House Harriers. It's a thing.
Yep.
I haven't done it in years, but you show up, you don't give people your real name, and they literally they have a guy go out ahead of the group. You could be in the woods, you could be in the urban part of the city. Like, every major city apparently has these things. This is years ago. And I was like, my buddy invited me to one of these. He's like, hey man, like, we should just go. I mean, there might be some drinking involved. It's whatever. It's, some people do it, some people don't. Some people do drink, some people. Anyway, the whole point is they just send out a hare, the rabbit, ahead of you, and they lay the course. It's almost like an obstacle course, or not obstacle course, but or a scavenger hunt, but not. But he just goes out and marks a trail with like a ball that has powder on it. And then there's like these logos that they put with powder on the ground to make you look in 3 different directions, and only one route is right. It's a whole thing. So I did that for a few years just for fun. And he's like, oh, hey, I'm going to go run the Marine Corps marathon. And I'm like, dude, you're a 6'5". At the time I'm 6'4". I haven't measured myself. Well, I was 6'4". He's 6'5". But he's a former rugby playing football player that went to Lehigh University, and his hands could palm my head. Right? He's a programmer nowadays, by the way, the biggest computer programmer physically that I've ever met in my life. Anyway, and he would show up like at the restaurant or something with like blood, stains on the side of his face because he came from a rugby match, and he just quickly like wiped it off and put a Band-Aid on it. That kind of guy. Sure. And I'm like, why? He goes, he had a great backstory, mindset. He goes, yeah, I don't really enjoy running those distances. I said, why are you doing it? He's like, well, a good friend of mine from college did. And unfortunately, due to a medical mistake in Philadelphia at a hospital, he died. Oh. And I was like, oh, that hit me. And I was like, oh, so he's like, we run in his memory. His father, wow. his twin brother, and he was my buddy's college roommate. And I was like, wow, see, the story hits me. So I was like, dude, what's the date? I'm coming down, do the sideline thing. I'm hopping on myself and 2 of his closest friends in the family. We're doing the whole get back on the subway and hop on to the next location on the course throughout Washington, D.C. Like, we're there cheering him on, doing the whole thing. And at the end, like, he's completely beat to snot. I mean, it's a big dude running a marathon. And I was like, hey man, so you doing this next year? And he goes, yeah, why? I was like, I'm in.
Nice.
And the difference between me and him was he'd already put enough reps in to know you still got to run, you still got to train. Me, I'm a huge cyclist. I'll go out and bike 100 miles, no big deal. That I'm mountain biker, road biker. I was in my free time before I go to my corporate gig, I would be teaching 5:30 a.m. spinning classes. That was my morning coffee. I'm that guy. And he goes, listen, you can be the best fit guy ever on a bike. You still got to put the feet on the ground and impact your joints. I'm like, yeah. So I waited till like 3 months before the marathon to properly start training.
Yeah.
And he goes, bro, you're going to be hurting. And I was like, I'll be fine. So I finished in 4 hours and 45 minutes with never even running a half marathon, let alone a 5K event.
Wow. Yeah.
And is it a great time? No. I was told anything under 5 was decent. Was I beat to snot? Yes. Did I struggle? Oh God, yeah. Did I want to quit? Absolutely. But I'm miswired enough mentally, or maybe in a good way, to just keep going. And that's part of running a marathon. You've run the half marathons and stuff too.
Yeah, I've done a marathon. Did a marathon in 2020. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So it's like, dude, the whole virtual wall thing around mile 20, it's real. All that stuff. And I was like, okay, because that was my first time. And I'd already done 100-mile biking events, but that was my first time where I'm like, oh, there's a mental game. Like that there's something there, the body will follow, but that mindset, that mental game, that was the first time I really, truly tested myself. And because I'm not a quitter, right? Like what you're hitting on. And a lot of people look at that word quitter or quitting, and it's like, well, fast forward to today, I now look at that differently, like you do. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I'm blanking on the author right now, but a quote that he roughly used was, everything you say yes to in life means you have to say no to something else. So it comes back to time management and everything else. It's like, listen, you're just refocusing your energy into the next chapter. And I realized, okay, after that, I went and ran 5Ks and half marathons, and it was like a 200-mile relay thing, the Ragnar series. I did the Ragnar when I was with my firefighting crew, second year rookie, being a wildland firefighter out west after my corporate days, because why not? Let's beat the crap out of each other, because we were serving on an elite wildland firefighting crew, and that's part of the preseason training is pick something that you have to beat the snot out of yourself on, and we went and did the Ragnar. Point is, I was meant to shift my focus. I did not love running marathons. Did it, check, took all that mental growth from that experience, and then was able to build on that into other things in my life. And it took me all these years later to reflect back on that. And I put some of that in my book a couple of years ago that I put out from everything I also learned from firefighting. And that's kind of what you and I are hitting on here, is that I've had to learn, like, oh, it's okay to eventually say no and say, okay, let's stop that chapter and let's channel that energy, that knowledge, and that experience into the next potential growth. That's kind of how I look at it. I mean, is there a certain way of wording, or how do you sum that up, like the way I just hit on it?
I'm a proponent of doing hard things, because we all, when you do hard things, whether it's running a marathon or a Ragnar or anything else that's hard, it might be learning an instrument, it might be standing on stage and performing in some way, but like, I'm a big proponent of doing that, because failure is certainly an option, but you just expand your boundaries, you expand your limits. And I think we all have these self-imposed limits, and I have them as well. And I do enjoy pushing mine back more and more. And I just not competed. My son and I did a 21-hour hike just a few weeks ago. It was almost 50 miles. 16. This was his 16th birthday. He wanted to do this for a 16th
Passing
birthday.
that mental fortitude on, brother. I like it.
Yeah.
What? 16, 50-mile hike? I did not do that when I was 16. No.
Neither did I. So I interviewed Michael Easter, author of The Comfort Crisis, on my podcast, and great book for listeners.
Very good book.
And he had this concept of, you're familiar with, called the misogi. And it's this idea, it's this Japanese term that relates that references sort of cleansing, and it's evolved to mean sort of doing something very hard where you come out the other side cleansed as a new person. And so this misogi, there's two rules of the misogi. The first rule is there has to be a 50% chance of success, and the second rule is don't die. And so we found this 50-mile hike. It was it was supposed to be 44-mile hike, ended up being almost 50 for us.
Oh, your son researched this.
So no, we kind of did together. Like
Okay.
I brought this idea up to him. I said, or both of my boys, and I said, we should do a Musogi sometime. And long story short, my 16-year-old son said, yeah, I want to do it for my birthday. I want to do one for my birthday. And so he and I settled on this one that he wanted us to do. And it was starting in Pennsylvania on the Appalachian Trail. It's called Appalachian Trail 4-state 24-hour challenge. We started it in Pennsylvania, hiked through Maryland, through West Virginia, and you come into the Virginia, across the Virginia border. It's about 44 miles, ended up being 48 for us due to a wrong turn, and then the map was mismarked at one point. So 48 miles, 21 hours. Yeah. And this was expanding the limits, expanding, what he thought was possible of himself, expanding what I thought was possible. I didn't know if we were going to be able to complete this thing or not. And we did. So I love that kind of stuff. And I think it's important for everybody to do that. And it doesn't for the listener, it doesn't have to be a 50 freaking mile hike without sleep. It can be a 5K. It can go walk a freaking mile if that's a challenge to you, right? Figure out what it is for you that is a challenge. This is you against you, and you'll be surprised at what you're capable of. And now here, do it with a friend, find other people, do it with a community, do it together. Misery loves company, and you'll find support in that. I mean, when I was wrestling in college, there were probably most days I did not want to go to practice, but there was a commitment there. I had made the commitment to the coach, and it was who I was. It was my identity. So I went. My scholarship wasn't riding on it, and my friends were going to be there, and this is just what I did. And so it's so hard. Like I did a workout this morning. I'm part of this organization called F3 for all the men listening.
I'm familiar with F3.
Yeah, you should. Okay, good.
There's a chapter here in Lehigh Valley now.
I imagine there is. There are probably some guys out there doing this. It's a free men's workout group, always free, always outside, open to all men, rain, snow, shine. We're out there working out. And I did the workout this morning. It was brutally hard. And, it was 5:00. My alarm went off. I did not want to get out of bed. I never want to. But I know that my friends are going to be out there in front of my house waiting for me because we run to the workout. And that's what you do, right? When you have other people doing it with you, it gets a lot easier.
What's a trifecta? Faith, fitness, fun, or
fitness, fellowship, and faith. Fitness, fellowship, and faith. And
faith. Yeah.
It's not a Christian or religious organization. It's just sort of faith in something bigger than you. Yeah, amazing organization. I'm actually I'm the chair of the advisory council for the foundation board for F3. And I'm on the board actually of the F3 Nation. So amazing organization for the men out there who are listening. It's the mission is to plant, grow, and serve small workout groups for the invigoration of male community leadership. It's really a leadership organization disguised as a workout group.
Well, and I love that because there's plenty of like female focused organizations, male focused organizations. So I also liked a buddy of mine's like, hey man, I'm going to go do that. I was like, listen, if you need another buddy to go, I never stray away from fitness. So I'm like, game on, right? So, I mean, I have my own CrossFit space, that's a brand, but I mean, a functional fitness bay number one in my pole barn outside is my gym. So
yeah, I saw that on your
people
Facebook.
are like, well, aren't those garage doors for parking trucks and cars? I'm like, I don't have that many cars and trucks. So, and gym is priority. So it goes in there. So it's the man zone, Yeah. But it's that life balance. But also, like, my buddy owns the closest and the largest CrossFit style facility here in the Lehigh Valley. He's left that moniker behind, not paying for the licensing rights anymore. So similar, but F3, but it's F13 Performance. And my wife trains there, and I'll drop in for like the community days on Saturdays where you don't have to be a member. But I'm like, I'm friends with the owner. I've helped with marketing and sales, and he runs my annual charity workout honoring the fallen hotshot firefighters out west called Hot Shots 19. I've spent years trying to make that bigger because I'm a former hotshot. So I wanted to try and get that to as big and as popular as the Murph workout. Most people know what Murph is nowadays. Sure. Have you done that with the F3 group?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I figured you would have. So yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, just Google it. Actually, on your last note, his point is valid. You can't wake up tomorrow and just go do Murph or Hot Shots 19 or these, what we call them, the heroes workouts. And it's okay to quote unquote scale it and adjust it to fit where you're at today. And I think that applies to what you're saying here, is that Actually, I'm going to screen share real quick because I love this. I had this page queued up on your website. So on Jim's bio page of his site at the very, very bottom under your very nice headshots, he's got a bunch of quotes there. And right there, like, for example, all success starts knowing where you want to go. So that's back to goal setting, right? Is like having a vision and thinking about it. But yes, is there going to be a road to be built to get there? Absolutely. You don't have to know what it is yet. A lot of us stress out and freak out because we have to know the exact process or way to get there. Not everything's 100%. Right. And back to your very first quote here, right? Failure is not an ending. It's a beginning. It's a building block for success. So as you're trying to build the quote unquote road or path to get there, or the golden, Wizard of Oz, right? The golden brick road, or whatever you want to call it.
Yellow brick road. Yeah.
Yellow brick road. It's going to take process. Like I thought, hey, farm kid chasing corporate dreams. And I was making more money than my friends who did finish their degrees at first. So I was like, sweet, I'm a corporate guy. And then I started hating my life. And I just wasn't happy and I felt lost. And then and it's funny because you and I are recording this on 9/11, we will never forget. And I was texting this and to some friends today, and I'm probably going to put a video up about this, but it's like, I was working as a bartender in my free time on 9/11. Everybody knows where they were on 9/11. So when I wasn't in my early days of climbing the corporate ladder, I was bartending in my free time and teaching spinning classes. I've always had multiple jobs in my life. So I was very independent and very single. We'll just say that. So like, hey man, I wake up, teach spinning, then go work the corporate gig, and then go bartend in the evening. It's just what I did, and I liked making money. The point is, it didn't keep doing that the rest of my life. But that's what I was doing. I was bartending when, like, setting up for the lunch rush when the second tower got hit. And I'll never forget all of that. And I had always been a very big supporter of first responders, police, fire, etc. And I never thought I'd become a firefighter, but it just stuck in me. And then from that point on, I was always like, okay, in my free time, can I go find some charity to work with? I did a few years supporting Habitat for Humanity, and I started moving, and I was on a board of a couple of charities over the years. And then I met a girl, and it's all in the book, the book I put out, So You Want to Be a Hotshot. And I met a girl, and she was from out west, but she was moving back out west. So it was a short little, fun, quick few months of fun and, romance. And then I was like, what are you going to do? She's like, oh, I'm going to go be a hotshot. I'm like, what's a hotshot? She's like, it's like an elite level of wildland firefighting. I'm like, what's wildland firefighting? And she's like, oh, that's right, you're an East Coaster. I'm like, we have a lot of rain out here, And then she told me all about it. And then I started in my free times, because I wasn't happy in my profession, I'm Googling this stuff and looking it up. And it became like a side obsession, and it just kept building, and I had no idea. And then when I finally finished that extra education years later in marketing and psychology on nights and weekends as an adult student, I was done with my career. I flipped through a couple more companies at the time, had the papers, had the degrees. And I was like, you know what? Let me go to a fire academy and learn this stuff. I went up to Long Island, New York, did it. And I was like, I met my head instructor, and I was considered older. And the guy goes, if you're serious, come to Colorado in January. This is back in like September. And he goes, come to Colorado. He's like, my wife and I'll put you up. He goes, work with me when we're not in class. Because he had this whole fire management business on the side. He's like, learn the ropes. He's like, I'll try and get you connected. And sure enough, over lunch, classic business meeting, right? I'm like at a community college taking advanced wildland fire classes, Jim. And he goes, hey, a buddy of mine's an interim superintendent of a hotshot crew in Arizona. He needs mentally strong people. He's rebuilding the crew to re-earn its hotshot status back. And if he does, then he becomes the superintendent. So it was a very key transition for the crew.
Wow.
Yeah. And I sat down over lunch, and the guy's like, dude, I got to take a huge risk on you. You're old. And I'm like, I'm 29. Call me old. Like, he goes, dude, I hired people like fresh out of high school, star football players, guys who decide not to go in the military, or guys coming back from the military. Like, it's that kind of world, right? Very militaristic. Sure. He goes, I need people that can be broken down and rebuilt. He goes, I'm worried if I can't break you down because you've got this resume, which serves him nothing other than I know how to work in the corporate world. I've had high level management positions. I've been a business coach, and I have a degree in marketing and psychology. I'm going to go be a wildland firefighter, digging in the dirt, wielding chainsaws, and growing out mountain man beards. He goes, you don't fit the pedigree. And I said, he's like, other than that Marine Corps marathon you did. And I was like, all right, challenge accepted. What do you want? And he goes, if I hire you, you got to give me 2 years, no questions asked. He's like, you're going to want to quit probably halfway the first year. Everybody does. And I said, challenge accepted. And he hired me.
Wow.
So
Very cool. What a
people
cool
like,
story.
you had no fire background and you got onto a hotshot crew. I was like, uh, I interview well.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that. And I was like, you know, what that becomes my future. It didn't. I did it for 2 years. I earned my belt buckle. I'm proud of it to this day. I wear it to this day. I put out a book about it to this day. I founded a charity because of that experience to this day. Was that any of that in the road? No. Like you're saying though, it's like you got to just start putting the reps and figuring things out. I mean, did you ever think you're gonna be a high level performance coach and having a website with your own awesome quotes on it? You know, like when you were a wrestler, you're like, oh, I'm gonna go do a TEDx. What?
No, the plan was to be a high school teacher and a high school wrestling coach, and you know, you look at the doors that are open for you, and sometimes you have to push them open. And yeah, for me, I mean, the door's open to do different things. You know, I never did put that degree to use. I mean, I became a college wrestling coach and youngest Division I head wrestling coach in the country at one point, and got out of that and started my first business and sold that and started another business, and that failed, and you know, and end up, you know, working at my alma mater as a major gift fundraiser and athletic department. Yeah. And yeah, you don't always know. You know, Steve Jobs said, has a great quote. He said, you can't connect the dots in your life looking forward. You can only do it looking backwards. And you know, what I help my clients with is to get very clear on what their vision for their life is and what the goals are, knowing that those change, like knowing that things come up, and sometimes those goals can change, right? I mean, at the end, like the whole, you know, the vision for like what you value doesn't change. Like we do a lot of work on understanding what your core values are, and because those really they evolve a little bit when you have kids and that sort of thing, but like for the most part those values are pretty consistent. So that's what we put as our true north, is living by those values and creating a vision that aligns with those values, and then pursuing that, knowing that there's going to be failure, success, and zigzags all along the way.
Yeah, I'm loving that. I mean, I'm screen sharing again for people who watch us on YouTube, because I'm back on his quotes page because I'm a quotes guy. I can't help it. And I read through all these so fast from the very beginning. The second one stood out to me the most, because we all need an unreasonable person in our lives who holds us to a higher standard than we believe we can achieve. And it connected me because this weekend I've been just so crazy with travel and business and home goals and the man zone work. And I was like, dude, this weekend, a buddy of mine, I got his wife to get internationally ordained to marry my wife and I, because his wife and himself were both fellow USSA ski race coaches. I did that in my free time, before fire, during fire, and after fire. And I did that for 12 years, working with kids, getting them to become better skiers. And they were both fellow race coaches with me. And I was marrying, well, my now wife she grew up in ski racing. So it was a great connection. Yeah. So anyway, it was his birthday. Actually, his birthday's today. So this weekend, went out to New Jersey, stayed over, went to this cool, like, local town community fundraiser for the fire department, clam bake thing, just unplugged, hanging out. And then I was meeting people that he knows that I never met me before. We're just all hanging out. And they're like, Brian, you know, this Scott guy, he's different. And I'm like, thanks. And Brian's like, yeah, he loves to hear that. And I was like, yeah, I like being a different guy. And like, what do you mean? And Brian goes, dude, Scott's got a list of hats, so many hats that he's worn. And I forgot that I did this years ago when we were ski race coaching together. He asked me one day to list every job I've done, because I sometimes had 2 or 3 at the same time, like those side hustle jobs and everything else. I was like, because they're all building blocks. I was one of those guys who like, I'm going to try it out and see if I like it. Right. Instead of just reading up the bio and, well, will it work or will it not? if it interests me, I'm going to go try and do it. And maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. Maybe I'll fail. Maybe I'll succeed. But he referenced me as one of those weird, as you like to put it, unreasonable persons, somebody looking from the outside in. I look unreasonable for some of the crazy things I've done. You know, like, I want to make sure you and I kind of shared some of that adrenaline junkie stuff, because not everybody's into adrenaline junkie sports. But the girl who got my wife and I connected, she sends me a photo on Facebook, and her profile at the time was my wife ice climbing. And I'm like, well, that's hot. And then I had just moved back from Colorado and from the years of firefighting. And she sent her a photo of me rock climbing and a photo of me wildland firefighting when I had the beard and the chainsaw and the fire behind me, and like, hey, you two should meet. So, and my wife and I make the joke, we're both a little crazy in our own different ways. So is that unreasonable, Jim? I don't know. I think it's fun. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you like rock climbing. You're very ridiculous in the whitewater sports. So what is that? You're up to stage 5, so you're good, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've run class 5. Yep. Yep.
I've
So
not done class 5. I mean, we do dam releases and do whitewater. I mean, hell, we take our inflatable paddle boards out on the river and float. I mean, not during a class 5, but
sure,
you know,
yeah.
You could go through the rolling rapids, work on your balance techniques, stuff like that. Never done class 5 yet.
Yeah, I've run class 5. I mean, did some steep creeking. I haven't done nearly as much as that since I've had kids. Part of it's time and part of it's just, there's part of me that realizes I know I can die doing that stuff. And
there is a switch that gets
flipped. It's not worth it anymore, just not worth it, So
but you got a 16-year-old that's willing to do a 50-mile hike.
Yeah.
That's an exciting difference chapter and step. Like, so you actually get to channel all that.
Still get
now
to
it's
do
now it's aligning with the next generation.
Yeah,
like
hunting, fishing, outdoors, being active. We went to Montana for about 5 or 6 weeks, 2 summers in a row. Last summer, the summer before, last 2 summers.
Did you hit Glacier?
That, so, oh yeah.
That place is majestic.
Yeah, amazing. Glacier, Tetons.
Yep. Yeah, all the big I got to see, except for Glacier, all the big national parks out there. I got to visit on the government dime every time we were being shipped to a big fire, because they sent us all the big fires. We always had to drive all the gear and the crew carriers back to Arizona to reset for days off. So our superintendent was cool. He would make sure we got a day or so into the role where we could detour through one of the big national parks on the way to kind of, honor what we're serving as a federal employee, but also give us a little reprievement from all the crazy 16-hour fire shifts. Like, hey, let's go through Tetons. Oh yeah.
So my wife and I met leading adventure camping tours. So we got to do, we started in the Southwest. We're based in the Southwest in LA. And so we did a lot of the stuff in the Southwest and, hit tons of national parks doing that.
That's a great access point, though.
North, south, east, west. We went everywhere. Yeah.
From where Southwest Cali. Yeah, you have access very quickly to a lot of great areas. We were actually just out in Tahoe this past ski season, by the way, after the first big series of dumps, not the later ones.
Because it's the big ones.
They had a rough year this year. People are like, oh, they have all the powder. I'm like, yeah, but you can't walk. There's having, like, we're big backcountry skiers. We do the heli skiing and everything else, but we're like, you still got to be able to safely do that. And like you said, once you have kids, that changes that prioritization of the adrenaline. And good on you. My wife and I said, we're dog parents. We'll be the cool aunts and uncles. We weren't willing to take that level of sacrificial commitment, but then it frees me up to do more of that stuff. Or if I can help inspire, work with other people that I've worked with, or charity and stuff like that. But heck, you're still finding time to be on the board of F3 and other things. So
yeah. I mean, really, that was the whole point with my life and that's what I help people do through our coaching program, is help them figure out, how do you want to live your life, right? I mean, what's the vision for your life? And then we reverse engineer it, and we, like I talked about earlier, starting with the end in mind. And, I realized whenever I failed after my business failure, the software company, that there was a framework in place in my life when I was performing at the highest level, because I came out of high school. I was not a scholarship athlete. I was a recruited walk-on, got into the University of Virginia, #1 public university in the country academically. I did not belong there academically. I did not belong there as a wrestler, did not belong there as in a social life. It's an affluent school. I grew up, dad was a construction worker. Mom was a secretary. We were, this was, I was like you, I was the first person in my family to graduate from college. So showed up there as just an underperformer, left there, 3-time ACC champion, All-American, Olympic hopeful, trained at the Olympic Training Center. And so that framework, I realized, I thought to myself when I was sort of back at the bottom after a failed business, like, hey, is this, there's a framework in place there, an infrastructure in place that allowed me to go from underperformer to peak performer. So I took that, I reverse engineered it and applied it to my life in the real world, and it changed everything. I tripled my income and I'd been so single-minded focused on my business, and my relationship with my wife was just not healthy. So, I healed that relationship. We healed that relationship and started spending more time with my kids. And, I'd stopped working out because I was, again, so single-minded focused and on this business that I was just out of alignment with who I wanted to be and how I wanted to live my life. But I really realized there's an infrastructure there, and there's four parts of it. And I can share it here, and I started putting these four pieces back in place, and it changed everything. And that's the basis of our coaching program now. And we work with high performers from all walks of life. Business leaders, executives, neurosurgeons, attorneys, school leaders, even professional athletes, you name it. That's who we work with.
Well, I love that, because I was just screen sharing part of your, obviously, coaching modeling there, right? Reveal Your Path is the name of it. And the balance, clarity, achievement, and accountability. And what you were just talking about was key components around, the balance and clarity, right? We're all guilty of that, falling in line into one focus or another focus. But I remember that back when I dual majored in the psychology background, I was considering going the PhD route because I fell in love with psychology. Oh my God. I make that joke to this day. As an entrepreneur and where I'm at today, getting a degree in marketing does not make you a business professional or an entrepreneur. I don't need that at all. Everything I know was self-taught in the years since. But the psychology, the sciences that are being taught at the university level, you find the right curriculum, the right instructors, it is powerful. And I still remember this day, at least what the format we followed was there were 6 domains of focus, right? So that's why I decided to take 3 of them to focus on for the show: health, business, and lifestyle, because business can apply to your professional pursuits in general, what you do to make money to survive. And then there's the health and there's the lifestyle balances. So that's why I was like, I loved your curriculum structure, because those are the first 2 in your list, and those have to stand out the most, right? You got to have balance and you got to have clarity to align with that. And you already were very honest about, impacts on your wife and your relationship. I put that in my book too. Like, my wife broke up with me after dating, not even almost to the year, because I was so self-focused after firefighting and so inwardly focused. I was not willing to let anybody in. I wasn't willing to show the ounce of vulnerability or approachability. And then I found out later I was doing it to my family. I was doing it to friends of mine that I had for 15, 20 years. It was a whole thing. And this was after my psychology background education. I just was not realizing it. And as soon as I started like getting rebalanced and refocusing on what I wanted in life, it didn't matter anymore about that. Okay, let's bring everybody back together. Let's get that balance back. Let's get that clarity back. So I love the fact that you shared that there, because if those things are not important in your life and they're not balancing out, then add in the professional stress, it's not going well. Right? And that's what I heard from you. If you got stress in your business, then you got stress in the family, and you're not working out to relieve some of that stress, that sounds like a big ball of stress to me. I mean, that's the key word for me, what I was hearing right there.
Yeah. And that's the idea is start, first part is you start with the vision for your life, your core, understanding your core values and figuring out the vision for your life. And the second part is creating goals that align with that vision and those values, not goals that align with, what so you see on social media or what the mass media tells you that you should want, or based on what's, most people set their goals based on what they see parked in their neighbor's driveway, and as opposed to what's truly important to them. So we help them get clear on those goals, and really help figure out what's next, right? People look, most of our clients are successful. They're at a point in their life where they've checked all the boxes, where they've got the job and the house and the car and all that. And they're like, okay, now what? Like, what's next for me? I feel like there's more in the tank. And so we help them create those aligned goals in every area of your life: relationships, self-health, wealth, finances. And then the third part is we call it the environment of excellence. And this is, having the right people around you. Like when you're an athlete, I had coaches and nutritionists and sports psychologists and strength and conditioning coaches, athletic trainers, you name it. And we need those types of people in those roles in our lives today as well, right? They're not necessarily a nutritionist or an athletic trainer, but we have to have the right people around us, right? And I had teammates I was accountable to them. They were accountable to me, right? You have to surround yourself with other people who have similar standards or higher standards than you, that'll push you and challenge you. We know that Olympic athletes aren't training with high school athletes. Olympic athletes are training with other Olympic athletes. And so, if you're trying to achieve some level, if you're trying to become a CEO or to start a successful startup or to run a marathon, you got to get around those people. And so we help people really get intentional about that. And then fourth and finally is you have to have a plan to follow through, because it's one thing to have a clear vision for your life and have aligned goals and in this environment of excellence. But if you don't have a plan to follow through, you're going to get blown off course, guaranteed. Whether you get sick or you go on vacation or the holidays come or the economy goes in the tank or your company downsizes, a global pandemic happens, whatever it is, car breaks down, kids get sick. I mean, life is going to push you off course, and you have to have a plan to follow through despite that. Like when I was wrestling, if I lost a match on Friday night and I'm sitting in the corner feeling sorry for myself, coach comes over and is like, "Hey, Jim, I'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. in the weight room. Be there." Like it or not, there's a plan to follow through. And we need that. We need that in our lives now as well. Otherwise we drift back to a default. We drift back to mediocrity. We drift back to the average that is all around us without this.
I 100% agree. I love the fact you just keyworded it as a drift back. I love that because you're right. I mean, it's, again, whether we back my buddy John, who was run the marathon, like who did I choose to go train with? John, because he already ran the marathon and I'm going to go run it again with him. So it's like, that was my guy. But to your point, like I used that quote for a long time in my early advancement in my personal growth and trying to find peak performance was, I think the exact verbatim from Jim Rohn is, "You are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with." But right. I like calling it I look at it as more of a multiplication side of thing, because I don't like to sum it all up, right? But however you decide to use that quote, it is true. Like, we're not asking you to disown people unless they're really, really evil and bad and are really causing bigger problems in your life. But sometimes you just got to spend more energy and time with a different circle of influence, especially if you're looking to level up and take yourself to a level you've never been at before. But I really like your point there that it's so easy to drift back because that's already the established status quo for you. It's already comfortable. But you got to get, like the guy you quoted earlier, you got to get uncomfortable. You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that comes from, like my quote I used earlier, putting in the reps. It's not going to be easy. But anything worth achieving in life never came easy. There's another great quote out there. I forget who said it. Like, my dad's pretty religious. I'm not. So he uses God. I use the universe. I say, I don't care if it's God, universe, whatever. But like he always said, Scott, he's like, you have constantly been challenged in your life. And he's like, that's because whether it's God or the universe, they know you're going to overcome that. That's why they keep throwing stuff at you. Because, what's next for him to work on, to overcome and learn to succeed or move beyond. So I think that applies to all of us. It's just being willing to recognize that, but also, like your point, don't drift backwards. If that, maybe it's getting the right coaching environment, the right group of people to surround yourself with. It's so easy to drift back.
Yeah. Yep. And that's why, going back to the other quote, we all need someone in our lives who holds us to a higher standard than we believe that we can achieve, Yeah, it's critical.
Well, Jim, I've had a lot of blast today. This is awesome. I knew you and I were going to rock the mics together, and it's going to be super hot and super consumable for my friends, my colleagues, and my listeners. So again, JimHarshawJR.com. I asked my guest co-host to do one final thing for me. For years, it was some final words of the show to leave behind in case they forgot everything else we talked about. And then, I know you're going to get this, past couple of years, I realized, it doesn't matter how much money I make, but with the book and the charity and just giving back, I realized, what is the legacy that we're leaving behind in this world? Because God forbid a chute doesn't open tomorrow skydiving, or a rapid overtakes you in the waters, or, heck, a car accident. God forbid something happens and I can't fully fulfill the legacy, but at least I've left something in the meantime positive behind. So that's how I look at that now. So I asked my guest co-host, like, what is a legacy you're working on? What is a legacy message you'd like to leave behind for the audience?
Yeah. So I interestingly just recorded a podcast episode a week before we're recording this now, 9/11, on legacy. And legacy is, sure, my business will be part of my legacy, but really my legacy is about people who I impact. It's about my kids. It's about my wife. It's about my siblings. It's about my community. It's about F3 Nation. It's about serving people, and there are few roles in life better than a teacher or a coach in terms of leaving a legacy. And that's why I love what I get to do. I get to impact people. And so my legacy is it's about people. It's about pouring into people. It's about loving people. It's about lifting people up, whether that's my clients or the coaches that work with us, whether it's my staff. It's about people. That's my legacy.
I love that. Well said, sir. Well, listen, hang tight. Give you a proper goodbye off the air. Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Harshaw rocked the mics for you today. So remember, check him out, Jim Harshaw, JR as in junior.com. And if you're looking for some coaching or some guidance, I think he might have a clue. If you haven't learned that enough today, go to the website. He has lots of integrated videos on there. Go back, watch the TEDx talk. Actually, I'm going to make sure the TEDx talk is also linked in the show notes with his other background information to follow him. But again, remember, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to fuel your health, business, and lifestyle. Jim totally helped us do that today. So I just want to remind you all, you too can live the fuel. And we'll talk to you guys again soon.